Welcome to Reading and Writing Between the Lines, a podcast series about communication skills in the workplace. I'm your host, John Witzman. Join me as I speak with industry professionals and Conestoga faculty and alumni to explore their journeys with reading and writing skills. Follow us as we talk about how communications learning has changed over the years, how these skills are used in a wide range of industries, and the future of workplace communications. You said you worked at CTV News for several years. What did you do?
CKCO.
What did you do there?
I worked there. So they had 3 shows. They had Province-Wide, The Beat, and obviously the news, like CTV News. So I was kind of like the one person that did all the graphics and for them, so all the motion graphics and things like that. But I had the privilege every morning to sit with all the like a round table with journalists pitching ideas and things like that. So they pitched ideas, and I worked with many different types of many journalists have come through. So I've had to kind of adapt to their kind of like the way they communicate and the way they work and things like that. And obviously you pick up things too when you're working in there, like, speak so you're not misunderstood, like leaving things for less interpretation, and they'll distill their ideas into like 3-4 words kind of things like that when they're pitching, right?
Right. I imagine that would have been an environment where you need to be concise and clear because people are moving quickly and there's not a lot of time. We got to get out into the field. So brevity and precision is key in that situation. Was that something that you found yourself getting better at over time? Were you noticing things that other people were doing and you were picking up little tricks in terms of how they pitch their idea in a way that really hit?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously there's a bit of vetting on my end, so when things are coming through, but absolutely, you can't help but like kind of pay attention, right? And absorb just the wealth of knowledge and how they think and how lean. It's you pick up these phrases like, if I had more time, I'd write less and things like that, right? And just what it takes to kind of lean out content and how to speak to it efficiently. So you definitely have to, acquire those skills when you're working with journalists, right? So, you can't leave much to interpretation. There's no subjective. You can't kind of live in that world, right? We have to be very. So definitely, in those seven years, I've had to learn that and kind of. And it's benefited me. And now I'm at the college here, and it's benefited me tremendously. I used to be quite quiet, and now it kind of strikes me when people are like, "Oh, you're always outspoken, and you seem pretty, social and extroverted." And I wasn't like that up till maybe 25, maybe. I was pretty quiet to myself, and a lot of that maybe had to do with the insecurities of the language and so on, and the education in that regard. But later on, I kind of just learned to embrace that, and I think it builds confidence, right? I still, you have I think that's the point of kind of like. Developing that skill, how to kind of cater it to your audience and reading a room and when you're speaking with friends versus speaking in a formal setting, right? So, to be able to switch those and go between them is very important.
I think you're so right about the confidence that comes from having your words express your ideas, right? Having a clear path for what you want to say or what you're feeling come out the way that you want it to, and how much time and practice it takes to build those pathways so that they're clear and that they actually allow those ideas to flow through into words. And when you brought up the idea of confidence, it brought me back to that morning meeting at CTV, because I really can picture that scene as being a kind of high stakes environment, right? Where people are coming to not quite the battleground, but there is sort of an arena where the best idea is going to win the day. And so I love the idea of you as a the relative junior in the room, and you've got to keep up, and you've got to get the job done, improve yourself. And that marks the end of another episode of Reading and Writing Between the Lines, a podcast hosted by me, John Witzman, on behalf of the Communications Department and School of Interdisciplinary Studies at Conestoga College. You can find other episodes of this series on our YouTube channel, Reading and Writing Between the Lines. Stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks for listening.